want to say thank you for joining us and welcome you to our step-by-step tutorial on making your very own fuzzy boots. No matter what type of learner you are, this tutorial has you covered with video demonstrations, voiceovers, as well as written instructions to guide you through each step. Plus, it's interactive, so if you have any questions along the way, we will be here to help. We're so excited to have you here, so let's get started. Before we dive in, I just want to quickly go over our legal disclaimer for this tutorial. Please do not redistribute any of the content from this video. If someone asks you where you got the tutorial, we'd really appreciate it if you could direct them to our Patreon. It helps support us so much as a small business. And if you share your finished product, don't forget to tag us. We would love to see your work. So first and foremost, we're going to go over some of the materials that are needed for this project, and they include parchment paper for the pattern, a hot glue gun, as well as hot glue sticks. However, if you did want to hand sew your fur on, you are more than welcome to do so, but it does take a long time. So for this tutorial, we will be using a hot glue gun. You will need scissors, as well as a Sharpie or pen, and something that's not necessarily needed, but I would suggest is some sort of claw clips or pins. You will see why later when we are adjusting the fur onto our boot, but those are the main materials that will be needed for this project. And obviously you will need any pair of boots. Personally, I got these from Walmart for about $6 in store. I did see that they were like $20 or $30 online, but I just went to my local Walmart and I got these boots for like $6. And then I also got these faux fur strips, which I will show you the specific details and dimensions of in the next slide. So the brand of these faux fur strips is Treehouse Studios. I got them for about $2.79 per pack. And they're about 9 by 12 inches, but the color and dimensions that you'll need for your project may be different than mine. So if you have any questions regarding this, feel free to shoot us a message and we will help you figure out everything. So faux fur has a natural direction or a nap in which the fur flows in, so we will keep that in mind during our project. It's very important. So throughout the next few video demonstrations, you will see me playing with my fur to figure out the best way to orient my pattern. So you might want to do the same, just play around with it a little bit. You can see if you want to do something similar to my method, as you will see in my video demonstrations, that will be in the next few steps. However, unless you are going to be using the same exact boot as I am, which is pretty unlikely, you will be making your own pattern according to your fur that you got, as well as the model or style or size of the boot that you're going to be using. So don't worry about that though. We will be showing you how to make a pattern from scratch with the parchment paper as described in the materials page. So just stay tuned and you will see how. So while messing with it to see the best way to orient your pattern, I like to place my fur against my boot, making sure the nap is flowing in the correct direction because we don't want it upside down. And you can visualize and adjust it to see what would be best for your pattern depending on how long your strips are and all factors considered. You can even use clips like I am in this video here, just to mimic what it will look like when it's finally on, because we do want to conserve as much fabric as we can for sustainability purposes as well as for monetary purposes, because you don't want to waste any money on unused fabric. So we're going to utilize as little as we can as possible in this tutorial. So for our pattern, we're going to be putting our fabric on top of our parchment paper, and we will be tracing the outline with Sharpie so that we can then cut it out after. So as you can see, our parchment paper is now the exact dimensions of our fur, and now in the next step, we are going to be playing around with this parchment paper on our boot to see how we want to trace our lines. So once I played around with it for a bit and adjusted my fur, I've decided that the best way to start my pattern is by putting the parchment paper pattern on the front top part of my boot. It may be different for you, but even when I did use like mid-calf boots, like a bigger size boot, I still did it in this like method. So you can follow along no matter what boot size you're using. Obviously the exact measurements of it will be different, but like I said, feel free to follow along. And I will be sticking pins in there to try to secure it for me to trace it. But pins don't stick very well in my boot since it's pretty thick fabric, but it sticks well enough for me to trace it. So I suggest you do the same. So now as you can see, I have successfully traced the first part of my pattern onto my parchment paper, and I am about to cut it, but I do suggest that you label it first. I forgot to do that, but if you just want to skip a little bit forward, I will show you how to label it properly with the right side facing up. So I definitely suggest you do that before cutting unless you're experienced and it won't throw you off. But yeah, you just simply cut it out. Once you're done, label it, and you are good to head on to the next step. So now I'm labeling my pattern. You can write top, bottom, left or right, whatever you want, whatever works for your pattern and for your mind. But we're doing this for two reasons. Number one, so that when we cut out our fur, it's not going to be upside down or sideways because we can read our writing and see which side the right side facing up is. And also so that we don't mix up our pattern pieces with another. So I decided to do the back part of my boot now because it's the second biggest chunk to cover of fur. You could do it however you like, but that's how I suggest. And I should have prefaced this before, but make sure when you are making your pattern, it doesn't get flipped upside down at all, because remember, the fur has a nap. It flows in a certain direction, so you don't want to do part of your pattern correct and then the rest of it incorrect, and it will just be a mess. So as you can see, these little pattern pieces on my table are the ones that I have left. So I'm going to try to make do with this for one boot. I'm going to use these little angled pieces, and I'm going to play with them on those little edges that I have under the top part and on the inside of that back part that stretches forward. So I recommend you do the same, but you might need to use more fabric in general for yours. It does depend, but for mine, they happen to work just perfectly. I would just end up having to trim the bottoms. So now it is time to actually cut the fur fabric. So it really is important for you to double check that your pattern is correct, because if it's not and you end up screwing it up, you might have to restart, which would number one suck for time purposes, but also for sustainability and monetary purposes as well, because who wants to waste money, time, or fabric? So please read my description in this slide here very carefully to make sure that you are going to be doing it all right, and follow along to my video demonstration before doing it yourself. So when cutting my fur, I came up with this technique myself. It is super unnecessary. I just decided to show you how to do it just in case you want to be super careful, because when you are cutting your fur, it's pretty inevitable that sometimes you're actually going to cut the fur because that fabric backing alongside the back, what we aim to do in this part of the process is only cut that fabric backing and not cut the fur under it. So a method I came up with for myself is I like to stick pins through the fabric backing to like the front of the fur, like underneath, so that I know where my chalk line is on the other side where I can't see it, like on the furry side, because obviously you can't see your fabric chalk on that side. So I stick pins all along that line, and then I use a needle to separate the fur, almost like you're parting your hair. You know what I mean? I make a part of hair along that chalk line so that when I'm cutting my fabric backing, it's very, very unlikely that I will cut the actual fur. So, like I said, you don't need to do that, but I definitely prefer to do that because in the past I've definitely made a lot of mistakes when it came to cutting it. But you can also just take very small snips as you go along and retract your scissors, which should work just fine as well. So now at this point, you have all of your pattern pieces cut out from your fur. So the hard parts are all done now. All you have to do is glue it on. So I definitely suggest like adjusting your fur on your boot before gluing it to make sure that it fits right and it looks good. You might need to make some little adjustments, like snip a little bit of extra fabric here and there, but overall, the hard part is done. So I just claw clip it on, make sure it looks good, and then you can really just go in with your glue. You can only do the edges. Throughout this video demonstration, you may notice I use a lot of glue and it's pretty unnecessary, to be honest. You really only need to do the edges, but yeah, I went a little bit overkill on that. So this is our finished product from this project. We hope that you love it, and if you'd like to share it with us, please send us a direct message with it, or even just tag us online. Regardless of the method, we'd love to see it. You can even accessorize your boot a little bit, add some bows, add some charms, whatever you'd like. Don't forget to tag us in your finished projects. We can't wait to see what you create, and we love sharing your work and celebrating your progress. So here's a full list of our socials so you can stay connected with us. Be sure to follow along for more tutorials, updates, and inspiration. Just a quick reminder once again of our legal disclaimer. Please do not redistribute any of the content from this tutorial. If somebody asks you where you got it, we'd really appreciate if you could just direct them to our Patreon to support our work. And if you share your finished project, please don't forget to tag us because we'd love to see it. So thank you once again for respecting our work and your support in our small business. If you have any feedback or notes for us on this tutorial, please don't hesitate to email us. And once again, do not forget this is an interactive tutorial, so if you have any questions along the way, no matter how small or big, we are going to be here for you every step of the way. So please contact us on Instagram, on email, however works best for you. All of our socials are listed in the previous slide. Once again, thank you so much for supporting our small business. We truly appreciate it. And please don't forget that this is an interactive tutorial, so if you have any questions throughout the process, we are here to help you. And if you're looking to elevate your crafting skills or put your knowledge to the test, we have other tutorials on sewing and crocheting that you might love. Be sure to check them out, and again, thank you so much for being here.